Today on Cinema and Cocktails, even though it's Christmas, we're not going to be doing any holiday movies. Instead, we have 3 movies that I think will still give you the warm and fuzzies. The first is a touching film about life, death, and moving on entitled I Will Follow. The second examines a new style of teacher and student relationship in Outside In. And Ant-Man, Paul Rudd, teaches us how to overcome life's troubles and the fundamentals of caring. All 3 can be found on Netflix, so let's watch these movies and make those drinks. No Christmas movies today, okay? I'm sure you all have had your fill of Christmas movies. I mean, between Lifetime and the Hallmark Channel and every freaking Christmas movie in the world being just poured on you through different media platforms, it's too much, all right? There's way too many to watch, and I'm not even going to get into the weeds and debate about which are the best ones to watch. I mean, everybody has their favorites, right? And if I were to do a top 5, I will say this, all right? And this is in no particular order. They would be Charlie Brown Christmas, Elf, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, the animated version of The Grinch, not that digital one or the one that Jim Carrey did, and I guess any version of A Christmas Carol. I think Bill Murray's Scrooge is probably the best ones because there were so many stars in that movie. But other than that, I know. How could you not say No Home Alone? How could you not say Die Hard? How could you not say Christmas Story? I don't know. It's just, like I said, I'm not going to get into the weeds about it, okay? Those are the ones I like. You like yours. I like mine. So you know what? Let's just agree to, I'm not going to say disagree. Let's just agree to kind of go our separate ways, and you enjoy your Christmas movies and I'll enjoy mine. Now, let's get into today's first film, I Will Follow, starring Sally Richardson, Omari Hardwick, Miko Brianna White, and Beverly Todd. Sally Richardson, man, she's been around for a long time, and some of her career highlights include The Great White Hype, which I think is one of the more under the radar films. Antoine Fisher. She was in CSI Miami for a long time, and she also was a regular on Being Mary Jane. And of course, there's many other things that Sally's been involved in, but I'm just highlighting a couple of things that you may have not mentioned or may not have seen her in. Omari Hardwick. Hey, man, one of my favorite players when he was down at Florida State. It was interesting how he didn't get a shot. Well, he kind of got a shot at the NFL, I think, but it just didn't work out for him. But hey, you know how they say God closes one door and he opens up another one, because, man, he has exploded on the acting scene. All the way going back to Miracle at St. Anna. He was in the movie Kick-Ass. He was in For Colored Girls. He also appeared on Being Mary Jane. And, of course, we all know Omari Hardwick from his just fantastic portrayal in that TV series Power. Miko Brianna White has 62 credits to her name. And it's interesting. When I was looking up her career, when you recognize her, you're like, oh, that's who that is. But it's almost like she's done like a bunch of like one shots. Like she's on one TV series for one episode and then one TV series for another episode. You know, it's not a lot of, I don't want to be, disrespectful and say staying power, but it's like she keeps popping up in episodes for like one episode here, one episode there, and then she has like these bit roles like in Courage Under Fire and Living Single and things of that nature. So very solid actress. Just, I don't know, it's almost as if she hasn't quite found her niche just yet. And then last but not least is the incomparable Beverly Todd. I mean, my goodness, she's been around since like the 1970s. She's got 88 credits to her name. She was on the TV series Benson, which I thought was kind of interesting. She had her career begin in TV as well. She was on the Red Fox show, and she was also in the movie Lean on Me. And you know what? I totally forgot she was Don Cheadle's mother in Crash. I mean, just completely, I forgot that's who she was. But man, again, another very, very well polished actor to round out what is a pretty stellar cast for I won't say low budget movie, but I'll say movie made on a shoestring budget. Now, as far as the characters go, Sally Richardson Whitfield, plays May. And she is clearly wounded by her aunt's death, which is played by Beverly Todd. Seemingly, she seems kind of lost in the beginning, trying to find her way through the grief as she kind of moves slowly, trying to assemble pieces of her aunt's legacy as she's about to move out. But the death, I will honestly say, has kind of left her stuck in neutral, and she is trying her best to get back in gear. Now, I want to say that by the end of the movie, she kind of finds her balance after making a few decisions about her life to go in different directions. But, it's hard to say whether or not her arc really changed very much. I think she, when you talk about change, is it like, for the better, or is it transformative, or are you the same person with a new outlook? And I kind of think that she's the same person, but she has a new outlook on life and dealing with, the way her aunt passed on and her interactions with her cousins and things of that nature, and also her own personal relationships. So I don't think she's changed, as they say, but I do think she definitely has a new perspective on life. Now, Omari Hardwick's character, before he was, the gangster in Power, man, he plays a very, very smooth and tender role in this. I guess that's the best way to describe it. He was a lover taken on by May, who we don't really find out about until later on in the movie. Hope I didn't give that away. But man, he is very, very soft-spoken, chill, easygoing, supportive. And you get the sense that he wanted to really get to know May, but she kind of kept him at a distance. And, I'll let May explain why that occurred later on when you get to that part of the movie. So I don't want to give too much of his character away. But needless to say, he comes in and he leaves pretty much the same way, except now he has decided to make some changes in his life in relation to May. Fran, man, the cousin, she plays, Nicole plays Fran, which is the aunt's daughter, and angry, bitter, hard to nail down, what exactly has got her angry in the beginning, but she is definitely not happy about the way her mother has passed. But I won't say about how her mother passed on, but her mother's passing. And there's an undercurrent of resentment between her and May. Now, I won't get into that now because it's a major part of the plot, but it definitely revolves around the jealousy of May's relationship with her mother, Amanda. Now, Beverly Todd plays Amanda, and to me, I think Amanda is the most at peace. She's at peace with herself. She's at peace with her life. And most of her screen time pretty much is shown through flashbacks. And, she apparently was a session musician who pretty much lived her life independently. And I think that hits at one of the core issues that she has dealt with, or not dealt with, but that her daughter has had difficulty dealing with over time. Now, when it comes to the way the movie's articulated, dialogue in a movie is not the same as real speech. And I want to make sure that people understand that, because I think when they watch movies, it's a visual medium. So there really isn't a lot of dialogue needed, but there is points where you hope that the characters give you exposition into what's happening or why they're doing something in their own motivations. It's usually a vehicle to convey something from the writer and from the director. And to me, when I listened to the dialogue of this movie, it didn't feel like the characters were talking. I took it in the sense that Amanda was talking to everybody. Let's just step back and think about that for a second. When I listened to May talk, and I listened to the other characters talk, and I listened to the daughter talk, it was almost as if May was conveying this message to everyone. She was talking about her thoughts, her emotions, her insecurities, her frustrations, her inability to connect with people, and her connections with other people. So I thought it was kind of neat that I kept listening. Whenever I heard someone talk or get into a discussion with somebody, I didn't really see them. I saw May speaking through them. So to me, that's where this dialogue I thought was very, very interesting in the way that the movie was written. Now, as far as the conflicts in this movie, there are a few, but, highlighting the big three, I thought revolved around May versus herself. Okay. She is definitely having some issues deciding what she wants to do with her life. She seemed to have a life, but she kind of picked up everything and left it behind to go take care of her aunt. And now she doesn't know how to get back on track again. Okay. She's kind of like a boat with no sail that's kind of floating out inside the water. May versus Fran, the cousins against one another. Fran loves her cousin, but does not like the fact that she was closer to her mother than she was. Fran was the daughter. May was the niece. And she really had some issues with how the two of them got closer and seemingly kind of froze Fran out. Now, that's my own personal opinion. I mean, when you watch the movie, you can gather your own intel and decide how that plays itself out. But it's a very interesting and very real relationship, I think, occurs within certain families, especially when it comes to the death of a loved one who's been sick for a long time. Then there's Fran versus Amanda. This is mother versus daughter issues. And it's a very interesting, poignant scene in the movie where one of the children is trying to figure out what happened between grandma and mom. And, May just simply says they were just different. Like that's the best way to describe. Sometimes mothers and daughters are just different. So I'm not even going to try to pretend to understand how that relationship plays itself out. Thematically, this movie, the theme thematically, how can I say this? The title of the movie is I Will Follow, and it is inspired by a U2 song written by Bono. And what's interesting is that when Bono wrote this song, it was inspired by the death of his mother, who died in 1974. And it's a song about unconditional love. And he kind of refers it between the mother and the child, and how no matter what the child does, the mother is always going to love him. And I thought what's also interesting too, and I think thematically, but there's a biblical component to this song as well. In Romans, the Bible talks about it, in neither height nor depth, anything else in creation will be able to separate us from the love of God. So when I think about I Will Follow, when I think about the unconditional love, and I think about May's connection with, her aunt, there seems to be this theme of unconditional love. And when Amanda got sick, the only person who followed was May. And May was the unconditional love, not Fran. And I don't know what happened between Fran and Amanda, but Amanda never stopped loving Fran. And that becomes apparent over time when you look at some of the flashbacks and some of the discussions in the movie. But also, May is looking for that kind of unconditional love from people in her life. And, she's looking for that kind of I will follow love from the people who are in her circles. And so I think to me, that was a driving film. That was a driving theme: sacrifice and unconditional love for somebody, and willing to be able to do those things for someone that you really, really care about. Now, the movie's a very, very snug 80 minutes. I mean, it's not even, and I don't even really think it follows kind of like a 4-act structure. I mean, you could argue that, in the first act, is when May goes to begin the move to try to get her stuff out of the house and, help close down her aunt's house. In the second act, you can kind of look at some of the difficulties of the move. By the time you get to the midpoint of the movie, May confronts her own issues with, some of those people who have decided not to follow her, including her issues with her own cousin. And then in the third act, you kind of see May make some decisions about her life as she prepares to move on. So I think that's pretty much the way the film kind of flows. Now, the film, written and directed by Ava DuVernay. Do I need to say anything else? She has made her bones with groundbreaking documentaries like The 13th, This in the Life, a hip-hop documentary, Selma. She did 4 episodes of When They See Us. So there's no need for me to even go down the litany of accolades and the wonderfulness of Miss Ava DuVernay. However, on a tight budget, man, she really works a miracle. You talk about the maximization of one's talent with a small set, with great performance. There was never a need for any tricky cameras in this movie. It's a straightforward story about life, death, and moving on. I thought what was really interesting was that the visual narrative of the film is very, very warm and very vibrant. Lots of greens and yellows and oranges and colors. It was a very soothing, aesthetic film from my perspective. They were very alluring to me. There's just very, I don't know. I kept looking at each scene, and all I kept feeling was the warmth of the sun as it entered different parts of the house. Musically, I loved Amanda's affection for the band U2.